Hello, bearded bee people. Welcome back to B&K Bees. It's early April, the sun is shining, the bees are flying, and that makes me super happy. Every year, at the end of the bee year, I'm ready for winter. I'm ready to go inside and to rest and not think about bees for a while. And then come January, late January, early February, I am ready to get out there with the bees. And this winter we spent in the Upper Peninsula completely away from my bees. And that had me really itching, really wanting to get out with my bees when I had the opportunity. And so now that we've got them all moved, I'm just geeked. I'm happy. All right, but today I am going to talk about getting over split nerves. I remember having nerves before I made my first split, having a nervous reaction, being apprehensive about making my first split. Even though I knew it was something that I needed to do, and I knew it was something that was advantageous to learn, and I knew that I was excited for the possibilities of being able to take one colony and make more, it was a nerve-wracking experience because it was something that I'd never done before. There were a lot of things that I thought could go wrong. And to be honest, most of that apprehension, most of that nervousness was rooted in just me not understanding the process as well as I should have. So that is the goal of this video today. I'm going to try to get rid of your split nerves if you're getting ready to make your first splits. I think it should be pretty easy to get rid of those split nerves. We'll use a dose of science to do the actual work for us, but let's get right into it. When you're making a split, what you're essentially trying to do is take one colony and make it into two. Now you can do this by getting a queen from a local queen breeder or buying a queen cell or any other number of things, but I'm going to talk mostly about making a walk-away split. You can adapt these things for making a split with a queen cell or making a split with a mated queen, and I have videos on those subjects that you can just search for here on B&K Bees on YouTube. But in terms of making a walk-away split, our main goal, the main thing that we need these bees to do is to create a queen. Now that major thing that needs to happen is the root of where things can go wrong. So let's first talk a little bit of science about why bees make queens. There are three main instincts as to why bees would make queens, and those are the emergency, supersedure, and swarm responses. In the emergency response, that means something happens. This is an emergency case, something happened to our queen, we have to create one now. The supersedure response is a slower, less emergency thing, and that is when the queen gets a little bit older and her mandibular pheromone starts to wane, it starts to dissipate, and the bees decide after it gets below a certain threshold that they need a new queen, and they will start to rear supersedure cells to make that happen. The swarm response is pretty easy to understand. That's the natural propagation method of these bees, and that happens during the swarm time of year when the nectar is flowing and there are tons of bees. They will create some swarm cells and send out the old queen and a bunch of bees, leaving those swarm cells to repopulate the old colony with a mated queen, or with a virgin queen that will then get mated. So when we are making walk-away splits, we are utilizing the emergency response. So when you take a queen and some bees from a colony and move it to a new spot, first of all, it doesn't have to be very far away, it can be right next door. When you do that, you're removing that queen and her pheromones from that parent hive. When that parent hive realizes that she's gone, and they will realize that because of the dissipating pheromones, they will immediately start to make queen cells. So if you make sure that you leave both aspects of your split with eggs and young larvae, the half that doesn't have that queen is going to immediately start creating cells within 24 hours. So the idea that when we start this split stuff that we have to talk these bees into making a queen or hope that they're in the mood to do it, no, that is their instinct. When you remove their queen, they are going to start the process of creating a new one. So what could go wrong in terms of making a split? Like, what are the things that we really need to avoid? And when I racked my brain in trying to figure these out, I came up with a couple of different things, and that is a starved split, chilled brood, or a failed mating flight. How do we prevent those things? Pretty easy. As far as the starved split is concerned, obviously both halves have to have food. especially the half that you're moving to the new location, because the fact that the foragers are going to return to the old location. So that new location split is going to be without foragers that are going to go out and get food, and they are definitely in need of food in their hive. If you are not giving them open nectar frames, you have to feed them. You have to actively feed them on the inside of the hive to make sure that they have enough food to keep everything warm and to keep all the bees nice and healthy so that they can continue to create a brood nest for you. As far as chilled brood, that is a concerning thing, especially in early spring splits. But the big thing that I do and that I recommend you do in order to avoid this is check your splits for population shifts 4 hours after and 24 hours after. As I said, when you move bees to a new spot, there's going to be a shift in population as those foragers get up and come back to the old spot. So 4 hours later, you're going to come out and you're going to see whether there was a major population shift right away. If there wasn't, you close them back up, wait 20 more hours for a full day, check again. If the population has shifted to where it's concerning in the new location, grab a couple of those brood frames from the old location and shake all the bees off of them onto that split. If you do those things and make sure 24 hours later that both of those halves have enough bees to take care of an ample brood nest, then the threat of a chilled brood situation is gone. So check 4 hours and 24 hours after making your split and you will effectively avoid a chilled brood issue. The last thing to be concerned about in terms of making a split is a failed mating flight. Now, short of miniaturizing yourself and flying around with your virgin queen, there's not a whole lot we can do about this. The thing that I do recommend is to avoid getting into a laying worker situation if she doesn't come back. The queen is going to emerge about 12 days after you make your split. That is like clockwork, because those bees in that emergency situation are going to start creating cells with 1 day old larvae almost every single time, if they have the choice of different types of larvae. So 12 days after you make your split, you are going to have a virgin queen walking around. Within about a week or two of her emerging, she's going to go out on her mating flight or mating flights. If after 3 or 4 weeks you do not see fresh eggs in your split, the first thing that I recommend you do is to get a frame of open brood from another hive. Grab a frame of open brood, you can shake all the bees off if you want to, give them to that split. That is going to give them some brood pheromone, which will inhibit those worker bees from laying eggs, and it will also give them the ability to start creating a queen cell. Now, I don't recommend you let them create another queen just because of the fact that the population is going to be a little bit lower and it's going to be even lower by the time that that second round is going to be a mated queen. So definitely give them a frame of brood, which, like I said, will inhibit the laying worker thing. It'll also tell you whether they do or do not have a queen based on whether or not they start to create queen cells, and then get on the phone with a local queen breeder and get yourself a cell or get yourself a queen. So yeah, the 3 things that could possibly go wrong: chilled brood, check the population level 4 and 24 hours after making the split. Starved split, just make sure both halves have food. Feed both halves if you're in any way questioning whether they have enough. Failed mating flight, 3 to 4 weeks after she emerges. If she's not laying, get yourself a queen from a local queen breeder. It's pretty much that simple. The vast majority of splits are going to be successful, and I think the vast majority of this apprehension is just rooted in our own insecurities. So get out there, be confident in yourself, be confident in what you learned from this video. If you have any questions or concerns, leave them in the comment section below in this video or any other one, and I would be happy to chat with you and allay those concerns for you. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I enjoy making this kind of stuff. I love sitting out here in this bee yard. Get out there and have some fun with your bees. See ya.